Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Osteoporosis Canada's Cook with OC Baking Demo webinar. Before we begin, Osteoporosis Canada acknowledges the land that our offices, located in Toronto, are on, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. My name is Tracie Napoli, and I'm the Director of Development and MARCOM at Osteoporosis Canada, and I will be your baking demo host today. This webinar will provide general information about cooking, baking, and food knowledge. It is not intended as individualized health or nutrition advice, but if you have questions, I would reach out to a registered dietitian. Now, we would love to hear from you during this webinar. So if you have questions or comments, just click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen or enter your comments in the chat, and we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can within the time available. Osteoporosis Canada's Cook with OC program works to provide you with strategies, new ideas, and develop recipes to help you get the nutrients needed for good health. We're talking about the nutrient calculator again. Have you used it yet? This tool will help to inform you if you're getting enough calcium, protein, vitamin D, vitamin K, and magnesium, nutrients needed for bone health every day. Visit the Osteoporosis Canada website or download the app onto your smartphone. You can use the QR code on the screen. Oh, there we go. So today's featured ingredient is Greek yogurt. And so we thought we would talk about a couple of things before we got to the recipe. We really like to talk about how you should read your product label. Not all products contain the same amount of calcium and protein and other nutrients, and they're not all the same serving size. So always read your product label. And a question we get a lot is, what is the difference between Greek yogurt versus regular yogurt? So all yogurts are the result of fermenting milk by adding active bacterial cultures, but the main difference is the protein content, and Greek yogurt has more protein per serving. It also has a thicker texture because it's filtered, and water, sorry, I've just got this in front here, and it contains less water, which results in a creamy texture. So this makes Greek yogurt a great ingredient in today's featured recipe. And today's featured recipe is an everything seasoned Greek yogurt bagel. And each serving, so that's one bagel, has 250 milligrams of calcium, 15 grams of protein, 2.5 micrograms of vitamin K, and 20 milligrams of magnesium. You can find this and other recipes at osteoporosis.ca/recipes, but I'm also going to pop the recipe link into the chat. It's now my pleasure to introduce Emily Richards, a professional home economist, freelance food writer, chef, and she is the author and co-author of 11 cookbooks. Emily also writes and develops recipes for print and online publications that include everyday cooking and healthy eating, and she can be found on TV, radio, and webcasts just like this one. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Tracie. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday.
It is Thursday today. Yay, it's Thursday. Hi, everyone. We're so happy to have you on. I know we're at a different time from our usual schedule, but I think we have people from like more parts of Canada than we normally have. So that's more provinces, territories. So that's awesome. Why don't you let us know where you're from, everyone? Pop it in the chat. We love to find out where you're from. We also have some international friends online. So hello to everyone.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And to let you know where I am, I'm in Guelph, Ontario. The sun is just about to hit my eye as it's setting. So if you see me squinting, but it looks quite elegant, I think, at this hour.
Yeah,
So
actually, I can see it on your cabinets. Yes.
yeah,
And I'm in Toronto, and it's so nice to have the sun. And I've got, oh, wow, everyone is just populating the chat with where they're from. I'll do a real quick. We've got Saskatoon and Hamilton, Ottawa, Calgary, Winnipeg, Rockwood, Kitchener, Coburg, Victoria, BC, and Edmonton, Alberta, Guelph. Oh, Los Alamos, New Mexico. Hello there.
Nice.
And we have, oh my gosh, places Truro, Nova Scotia, South Shore, Nova Scotia, um, Etobicoke, GTA, Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Love it. I see so many other places, but keep them coming in. I love seeing where everyone's from. Emily, are we gonna have some? We're gonna have fun, everyone, tonight. We're making bagels, and
We are
everyone's
baking
excited.
bagels.
We are making bagels. And before we get to Emily making bagels, couple of things. We love this recipe because it looks hard, but Emily's made
Way
it,
to
so
sell it,
it's not.
Tracie.
I
Way to
know, way to
sell it.
sell it. Way to sell it. Oh, Costa Rica. We've got someone from Costa Rica. Hello, and White Rock, BC. No, what I mean is like normally people would think, oh my God, we're gonna make bagels. It's gonna need all this equipment and time. Emily has simplified it for us. It's still delicious and it's going to make like it's small batch. I love that word, small batch. We don't need to make 48 of everything, right? We're going to
No, we
make
don't.
this makes eight.
It does.
And before you start making eight, you're going to model. So
Oh,
if you're,
yes.
I do have to say this, if you're in Canada, unfortunately, this is only for if you're a Canadian resident.
In the sun,
In the sun, we are
not in the
going
sun.
to give away an apron if you're on at the end, and we'll draw a name and then we'll announce one of our unbreakable aprons for you. Are we good, Emily? You want to
I
take it
think
away?
we are. I feel
Okay.
like this is going to be pretty chill because there's
Yeah.
four ingredients that we're using tonight.
Four
So
ingredients. I
four
love it.
ingredients. And oh, here's the thing. We're going to make a spread for this bagel too.
Oh,
And
a bonus recipe? I love it. I will put the link. It's on the website, so I will
yeah,
also pop that in. I will pop that in when we do it. So we'll go
yes.
through some stuff.
Yeah. So if you should have got the recipe in your email, but if not,
Yes.
Tracie will put it in the chat too. So if you want to follow along, and make sure that I add all the ingredients to the recipe. But what's great about this is that so if you've ever made bagels before, it is a process, and then you have to boil the bagels and then bake the bagels. And so this is literally make the bagels, bake the bagels, and you're done. And then when they're cool, you can pop them in the freezer and you have some great high protein bagels. So I don't know about you guys, if you've gone to the store, there are protein bagels available now. And I tried one because I thought, I'm going to give it a try, see what it's like. I wasn't crazy about it, to be honest with you, because I noticed that they put pea protein in it. So it's still kind of a wheat base bagel, but there's pea protein in it. And I just found the flavor was really strong. So I kind of went back to making Greek yogurt bagels because I really like that flavor. And I do enjoy, and I do have Greek yogurt in my refrigerator all the time. It does definitely is a staple. So I'm going to get it out of my refrigerator. And when you're shopping at the grocery store, yogurt section now is like really, really big. So you have lots to choose from. We are using a plain high protein yogurt and lots of different brands out there. The highest protein I could find was 19 grams. So if you have a higher one, you can definitely use that. But the great thing about this is that we are just using a zero fat milk fat. So it has no fat in it. That's also great for a lot of people, right? But if you happen to pick up one that has 2%, 5% or more, it just gives you a more decadent bagel. Okay, so you're still getting the benefit of the protein, but you're getting a little bit more richness in the actual bagel itself. So if you guys have any questions as we go along, just put them in the Q&A or the chat, wherever. I think Tracie's going to keep an eye on that, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. I will try to give you as much information as I can as we're making this. And yeah, we are going to make a spread for it too, which guess what? Uses more yogurt. So if you find yogurt on sale, or this is a great recipe if you're looking at that best before date and you're like, it's a couple weeks in there. Guess what? You can still make bagels. They're still going to be great. So we're using this whole container. It's 650 grams. Okay. Now, if you buy larger tubs or bigger containers of yogurt, you can measure it out. And I haven't done that in a while, so let me do that for you so that when you ask how many cups of yogurt you need, I'll be able to tell you that. So let me just get my little spatula somewhere here and we'll scoop it out. So anything, I get to give you some home ec lesson today too, which is always fun. So anything that kind of takes the shape of a dry measuring cup, like Greek yogurt, because it's so thick. Sour cream is the same. So you can actually measure it in a dry measuring cup, okay? Because the benefit to this is that you can level it off. So you can just get it in there and level it off. So there's 1 cup. Okay, so this is if you're buying plain yogurt in bulk, which if you are kind of a bulk shopper, you can definitely do that. And it may save you some money. Now, not everybody has the fridge space to do that. So this is always fabulous to know how much you'll need. So it looks like it's going to be more than 2 cups. Okay, so there's my second cup, a little bit snuck in there with it. And this looks like it may be about half a cup. Okay, so let me get a half cup measure. And this will be kind of an estimate, but anytime you're using kind of these types of ingredients where they're sticky to the tub or the container, make sure that you get a rubber spatula there so that you can get all the little nooks and crannies. Because believe it or not, if you don't, if you just kind of scoop this out and leave it, you could be losing up to, 2, 3 tablespoons that are left in here. So you definitely want to use it all. So I'm going to do this just like that. And this is 2.5 cups. Okay. So for those of you that needed to know, this is now 2.5 cups of plain Greek yogurt. Now, if you're already thinking, Emily, I don't like savory bagels, what am I going to do? Well, guess what? You can use Greek vanilla yogurt and have vanilla bagels because that would be really delicious too. And then you can put some strawberry cream cheese on it or strawberry spread. I'm thinking peanut butter and jam, so many things. All right, so here's our yogurt to start. And I grabbed a whisk. And we're going to add our next few ingredients, which are baking powder. So 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And this actually helps lift the bagel, but also lighten the yogurt. So that's what gives it that really nice chewy texture inside. Now, hands down, my favorite, Montreal bagels. I absolutely love Saint Viateur, but that's not what we're making today. Those are a little bit different. So this is going to be more along the lines of a bakery style bagel. So, if you go to the bakery section in the grocery store, those kind of light, fluffier bagels, okay? So I'm adding my baking powder in there. And the reason why I'm using a whisk is just it helps distribute everything a little bit more evenly. And this is our everything bagel spice, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. And then the salt, okay? Because these are a savory bagel. So I'm going to stir this or whisk it so that that baking powder goes through the yogurt nice and evenly. Okay. Now, everything bagel spice is something that you can buy in a jar. I'll show you the jar I have. This is just kind of traditional Clubhouse McCormick's brand that says everything bagel seasoning. Okay. There it is there. I'll show it to you a little bit. Okay. So if you take a look at it, it looks pretty. It's got all these nice colors in it. And all it is, you can go to the bulk store and buy these things individually and make your own or leave out things that you don't like. This is dehydrated. It could be garlic or onion or both. Poppy seeds, sesame seeds. And that's pretty much all it is. But this one also has, no, it has poppy seeds. This one also has a little bit of sea salt. So if you don't want to do that, you can just mix it. But what I would do is if you're going to make like a big batch, because guess what? It's a great gift. So if you have foodies in your life that, have everything, but they don't have everything bagel spice, you can actually make it as a gift, pack it in a little jar and then give it to them. However, I would freeze it. Okay, because a lot of these things, this is preserved. So this will be fine on the shelf. But if you're making your own, the poppy seeds, the sesame seeds, they produce natural oils that could go rancid. So if you're making some for yourself and you're not using it other than to make these bagels once in a while, tuck it in the freezer and then just pull it out when you need it. Okay. Now, if you're already saying, I'm not an everything bagel spice fan. I have some of those in my family. Um, that's okay. You can leave it out because you can make all the bagels that you like. So this could be very easily a couple teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and you could have a cinnamon bagel because guess what? Then you could put some raisins in there, which would be delicious. This is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And for those of you that missed home ec class, I'm lifting the flour, putting it in again, my dry measuring cup, and leveling it off. Okay. 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a half cup as well. Okay. So this is white all-purpose flour. Now, I know everybody loves using different flours, and I will tell you what I have done and what I haven't done. So for the flours, and I'm going to stir this while I'm doing that. So I'm just got a spatula here and I'm going to stir this up. And don't put your flour away because you do need it again to roll. Okay, so this is all white all-purpose flour. You can do half and half if you want to use whole wheat flour and some white flour. You can also use barley flour, makes them a little bit heavier and dense, but great nuttiness and flavor. You could also use some oat flour. And I know the big one is always, can I use gluten flour, gluten-free flour? And I haven't made them personally, okay? But you would do the exact same process and add a little bit of flour at a time. So I would start with about a cup and a half or even 2 cups of flour, stir it up, and then you want to test the dough to see how sticky it is, which is the exact same process as what I'm going to do here. So I've stirred it up. You can see it comes together quite easily. Okay, I'm going to wipe off my spatula here. And what you can do is take a little bit of the flour, which would be your bench flour, and put it on your hands or sprinkle it on here. And you can gather the dough right in the bowl. Okay. So I find this easier for a lot of people because you can test the stickiness of the dough right in the bowl instead of putting it all on the counter and then kind of creating a bigger mess. This keeps it contained. Okay. So I'm just kind of gathering the dough. I'm not really kneading it at this point. I'm just kind of pulling it all together and making sure that I get all that flour from the bottom. Okay. Now, I've thrown a lot of information out to you. Tracie, are there any questions so far?
Yes, yes, we do. There we are. All right. So look how simple that is. And I think like the great part about this is we often talk about versatility in ingredients. So if you're going to buy Greek yogurt or whatever, when you're buying ingredients and you think about how can I maximize the usage of this ingredient, it's great if you're on a budget or we're all on a budget. It's also great so there's less food waste. How often are we looking at something and we're like, oh my God, I bought it. I didn't use it. I don't know what else to use it for. Eating yogurt on its own is delicious. You can do that. You can also use it in baking like here, and we're still using it in a spread. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other uses for it. So the question we have now is gluten-free flour. Did you touch on that? I'm
I
sorry.
did a little bit,
My
yes.
listening skills. I'm sorry. I was looking for an apron winner. So I'm sorry, I'm listening. Yeah, so they about that, you talked about the other ones. Now we do have a question. I'm not sure if almond flour would work.
Okay, so almond flour, again, gluten-free. And most people like to use almond flour in that case. And so I would add, again, a little bit at a time. So almond flour is, again, you're going to get a little bit of a heavier consistency, but what you're looking for, and I'm going to hold this up, Roy, if you want to switch to this
Yeah,
overhead
take me
camera.
off, Roy. Roy's
So this is the dough, and I washed my hands so that you could see how clean they are, but it's not, see how it's not sticking to my hands? That's the consistency of the dough, okay? Now, we're going to be cutting it into 8 pieces to make the bagels, so they will be a little bit sticky, and that's where we're going to introduce a little bit more flour. So whether you're using gluten-free flour, barley flour, almond flour, or ground almonds essentially, or a mix of whole wheat and white, or if you want to go a little bit heartier and use all whole wheat, you're looking for the consistency to be not sticky. Okay. So, and this is always where I wish that we could all be in a room together and I could pass around some dough so you could feel it, because to me, that's kind of the key memory of you kind of touching the dough. But once you bring it together, and you can see I didn't really knead it, like I'm not kneading it hard because I really want the nice fluffiness of the bagels to come through. So gathering the dough initially in the bowl is kind of like a light knead. And then I literally just did it a few times here to bring the dough together. Okay. And then it's not sticking to my hands. So that's really an important part. So does that answer
Yes,
most of
you
those questions?
you got a lot of the questions. I mean, we have a lot of questions on different kinds of flours. I would probably also say, if you're someone who's used to cooking and baking with other flours, you're probably, you may want to give it a shot and then see what the texture is if it's something you like. Often, we do these recipes, we put them together, they're developed because it meets a need that we're looking for. We want to present things that have so many milligrams and grams, et cetera, of the nutrients we're looking for, and also to make it accessible and versatile. But, sometimes maybe you're like, well, that's really not going to work for me. So it's something where if you try, an ingredient that you want to incorporate, and then let us know and say, hey, I used this flour and it was super, and I love the taste and the texture. The one thing, are a few comments about sodium. So first off, the web page. So I did put the link for the bagel recipe in the chat. The full nutrient breakdown is there. So things like that you can make choices on. So the everything bagel spice, if you don't want added, then you need to read. It's all about product labels, right? Read the product label. Is there sodium? You can buy ones without sodium. You can make your own without any salt in there. You can omit things, but I think that was one of the questions.
Yeah, definitely. So this
Sorry.
is really where you are in control. You can do very simply flour, baking powder, and the yogurt. There's your basic bagel.
Yeah.
You don't need to add the salt. You don't need to add the everything bagel seasoning. But let's say you want sesame bagels. I would recommend you buy, I'm just going to reach them because they're over here. These are roasted sesames seeds, and you can use that. Okay. You could
Absolutely.
use poppy seeds if you love poppy seeds. Those ones are always tricky because I feel like they get stuck in my teeth all the time.
I know.
I
I
me-
know, right?
I mentioned the cinnamon, so you can, add cinnamon to it. But look at your spice drawer. You could make curry bagels, you could make Italian seasoning bagels, you could add some Parmesan cheese and make
Oh, yeah.
Parmesan garlic bagels. So you could use a little bit of ground garlic or garlic powder in here. So this is really what gives you control. And this is what's going to give you more control because guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you to cut this in half. Okay. And you're going to have the everything bagel spice here. And I have it here too. But you know what? I want to add, I'm going to open this up a bit. I'm going to add quarter cup of cheddar cheese in here.
We're going wild tonight. We're adding cheddar cheese. We're going wild. But and before, because then I'm gonna sign off for this part. But what we always kind of suggest is try the recipe for if you can. I mean, if you can't eat gluten, etc., we get it. We what I would say is, are you on? Sorry, what view can you see? I just have someone who asked if we could switch the camera.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, for sure. If you want to
yeah.
do the overhead, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's do the overhead. What I would say is if you can, you're able to eat all the consume all the ingredients as the recipe is, try the recipe as it's written, because that'll give you like a base of kind of the quantity, the texture, the taste, etc. And then kind of figure out the changes that you want to make. That's where I'm gonna leave it. And let's look at that. That's delicious. Okay, Emily, keep going.
So if you were adding ground cinnamon, you would have added that in the beginning. And technically, if you wanted these all to be cheese bagels, you could add that and stir that in right from the get-go. Because I knew I was going to do this, I was, doing half and half. I separated them. Now, I could also with the cinnamon in the beginning. This is where I could add the raisins or the chopped apricots or the dried blueberries or all of that. I would stick to the dried fruit just because adding a fresh fruit would get it a little bit soggy and change the texture of the bagel inside. Okay. You'll also noticing that I'm not worrying about this. I'm not rushing it. I'm not like just chill, totally relax about this. It's all easy. Okay. If you can't do all 8 bagels at once, if you have any kind of arthritis in your hands, just let it sit for a bit. This will continue to rise. It's got baking powder in it, so it will continue to get a little bit bigger and lighter, but you can still work with it. Okay. Um, you can let it sit at room temperature for, about 20 minutes. Make sure you cover it so it doesn't dry out, especially if as we go into kind of warmer months, it might dry out inside. Um, can you make this ahead? I have done it where I've made the dough and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. It doesn't kind of give it the same puff because baking powder needs that second element. So it gets activated by the acid in the yogurt first, which you'll notice when you're making it because it kind of fills the bowl as the baking powder's in there and you add the flour. And then that second lift goes when it gets baked in the oven with that little bit of heat. Okay. So that's what works really well with baking powder. So if you let it sit kind of overnight, it just kind of sits and sits. It's like, hey, wait, I'm not getting warm again. So it doesn't really give it that nice lift as it does. Still works, still a great bagel, just a slightly different texture. That's all. Okay. So I will start with the everything bagel. So this is going to make 4 and 4. So I'm just going to cut this, try to get them about the same size. And these are good size bagels. Okay. If you want them a little bit smaller, you could get 12 bagels if you wanted. Okay. So if you don't have a very big appetite and you already know, just divide each half into 6 and you'll get 12 smaller size bagels. They're still going to have the protein. It's just not the same amount of protein as the 8 bagels. Okay. So now remember I told you every time you cut it, it's going to be a little sticky. So I want to have a little bit of flour here to roll. I'm just going to put this dough off to the side and then you can kind of see how I'm rolling it. I'll put a little bit more flour here and I'm just rolling it out. And I say to about a 10-inch rope. So I have this handy dandy kitchen ruler here. Okay. And this is a little bit bigger than 10 inches, but that's okay. Because what we're going to do is just pinch this together like that. Okay. And it's an overlap that I'm doing. And then I'm just going to stick my hand through the hole and kind of just roll it back and forth like this. Okay. And I have a bagel just like that. And then I'm going to put it on my baking sheet that I have here, which has some parchment paper on it. Okay. And then you're going to do this a few more times. So as I'm doing this, that little bit of exposed stickiness helps when I'm rolling it. I'm not really pushing a lot on this. I'm just kind of letting it naturally roll out, estimating my 10 inches. Okay. Just about there. And then you can loop it over your hand if you want and pinch that and then just roll it back and forth to get your bagel. If it doesn't kind of come together, you can always just, this dough is really, really easy to work with. Okay, like that. I'm going to do another one and then I'm going to do something fun because you know what I like? I don't feel like a whole bagel sometimes. And maybe you don't feel like a whole bagel sometimes. Maybe you want a little snack. So I'm going to show you how to do little bagel bites too. So I'm going to just pinch that, roll that out. Okay. And then put that on my baking sheet. So I'm going to take this again, we'll flour down that and roll this guy. And by the way, the oven is at 400 degrees. So I've already preheated my oven. Okay, so I'm still sticking to that kind of 10-inch size. And then I'm going to cut this into about 5 pieces, about the same size. These are now bagel bites. Still the same amount as the bagel. So you're still getting your 15 grams of protein. Okay, 3 grams for each bite. That's my math popping in. And I'm going to put those over here in the center of the baking sheet. And then I'm going to go over to my cheese version and cut that into 4. Okay. And I made, oh, and by the way, if you put some fresh minced jalapeno pepper in here, jalapeno cheddar, absolutely delicious. Really, really tasty. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, I need some flour here because it's a little sticky. So is this making sense so far? I know I'm like repeating myself now because I'm making these bagels, but this is something that I find relaxing. I like actually any kind of bread baking. I just find it kind of soothes something. It also makes me think of my grandmother who loved making bread. I remember the first time she made bagels with my mom because she always liked, eating bagels, but she didn't she tried making them like just with regular bread dough. She's like, but they don't taste the same. And then my mom and my grandmother made bagels. And then my grandmother's like, oh, forget this. This is too hard. It's too much work. Even though she made way more difficult things than bagels. Um, so she just preferred going to pick out the flavors of bagels. Okay, so I'm on my almost last bagel. Tracie, do we have any other questions that um, are coming up that would be
But
easy enough to address?
yes, well, and so I mean, I agree. It's funny that you said like you enjoy rolling out bread, dough, etc. And I was just thinking like, like I just see this as something that is a stress release. It's completely enjoyable. And then you get that beautiful aroma from, when you're baking them. So happy day all around. And you actually talk, so somebody did put in the chat, what about putting in jalapenos? And I'm like, and then you said it. So, I mean, again, everyone's kind of getting creative. So that's really great. There was a question about bread flour. I don't think we touched on that. So I'm going to ask about that, but also, can you, in fact, over knead the dough?
So I'll answer that one first. Over kneading the
Okay.
dough. By over kneading it, you're going to see it get really, really, or feel it get really, really sticky. It's going to start sticking to your hands, and it's just you don't need to do that. It's just not necessary. So um, let it not be sticky, and then you'll know that you're not going to over knead it. And as for bread flour, that's a great flour to use. It's a softer flour. So if you are using bread flour, what's great about that is you'll probably notice that they'll puff up a little bit more. Same with cake and pastry flour. You will also need a little bit more flour, okay? And not need, but actually add a little bit more flour to it because that it is a softer flour. So you might need to add a few more tablespoons to it. So I made a few more of these lovely little bagel bites because they're great for just think, if you want to pack a few bagel bites with maybe some leftover roast or chicken or something like that and pack it for a little snack or even, a lunch with some veggies, that would be absolutely wonderful. I'm just going to put these along here, space them out. So I kind of put them in the middle because these ones are I'm going to bake them all at the same time. Even though these are smaller, they're the same thickness. And because they're in their center, they're kind of protected a little bit. So the next part of the recipe is to brush it with egg. Now, you don't have to do this, by the way, if you can't have egg. You can use, they're really good with a little bit of butter. If you want to brush them with butter, you don't have to put anything on them. You could also brush them with a little bit of water. The reason why I'm using the egg is it gives it a great color, but it also is going to help our extra everything bagel seasoning stick or whatever else you're going to put on top of it. So I just have a beaten egg here and I'm going to brush it over top. You could also use a little bit of milk, okay, or cream if you have it. It'll give it a little bit of color. If you were doing this is very tasty because I've made it. The cinnamon raisin version, and then I sprinkle a little bit of coarse sugar on top because then it gives it a little bit of crunch as well, which is kind of nice. Something that you don't get from a bakery bagel typically. Okay. Um, and for all you chocolate lovers out there, don't think I didn't forget about you. Some mini chocolate chips in here are an extra special little treat too. So you could put, I would use about for the 8 bagels, a third of a cup of mini chocolate chips will go far. Or if you wanted to use like a dark chocolate, you could finely chop some, and then you'll get a really nice kind of chocolatey um, bagel, which is kind of nice too. Okay. So I'm going to bring this over here so that you can see what I'm doing overhead, because then once I have these all brushed, I'm going to add the topping. So I'm going all the way around the bagel and then inside here too to make sure that I get every little nook and cranny. And then I do want to do these little guys too, because I'm going to put some everything bagel spice on some. And then because I love cheddar, I love cheese, you could put some Parmesan on top, by the way, and do a double cheese bagel. But I'm just going to use more cheddar. Okay. So for my everything bagel spice, I'm just going to sprinkle some on. Okay. Like that. I think these three were my everything bagel spice ones. Okay, and then I have some more cheddar here. And I'm just going to kind of put it all the way around on top. And if there's a few extra bits, a little cheese skirt on a bagel is quite nice to have that kind of melting all around. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, remember I told you you could use the individual seeds if you wanted to. So I'm going to put on these little bagel bites here, I'm going to put a little just straight up sesame seeds on those. Okay. I'll even do it on the cheese ones too. Or maybe, you know what, I'll do both. As much as I'd like to share with you guys, I'm going to have lots of bagel bites, and I know they will be great with some lunches tomorrow. All right, so these are going to go straight into a 400-degree oven. And I'm just going to do that because I know that it's ready to go. And those are going to bake. I already baked some ahead of time because I really don't have any problem selling these bagels in my house. And they're also great for the freezer. So once, as I mentioned earlier, once they're baked, let them cool completely, and then you can pop them in the freezer. What I do recommend, because I find this helps so often, is to actually cut them in half before you freeze them so that when you pull them out, they're a little bit easier to kind of use quicker. So I'm just going to clean up my board here first, and then we're going to make the yogurt spread. And we're going to use the same yogurt. So we're using the high protein Greek yogurt. Okay. So you could use your favorite cream cheese and any topping. You could use this for a sandwich if you have, as I said, leftover roast or chicken or tuna salad if you want, and put it in the bagel. It's absolutely delicious. But this is if you want just kind of something simple. You're still getting some protein because we're using the high protein yogurt, but it's vegetarian. Okay. So what I'm going to do is grab my yogurt. I'm going to tell you what I did here. Because this is my yogurt, same Greek yogurt, but you'll notice that it's in a sieve. And if you look closely here, it's also in a coffee filter. You could use a cheesecloth, but I just had coffee filters, so that's what I used here. Okay. And so this is the Greek yogurt. And if you look in my bowl, I'll lift this up here. Okay. It's actually drained some more. So Greek yogurt, as we all know, is pretty thick already. But if you actually let it sit like this and let it drain out the rest of the way for a day, two, you can even let it for 3 days if you want, it gets really, really thick, almost cheese-like. So think cream cheese, that kind of consistency, except with yogurt. Okay. So we're getting that benefit. And what I'm going to do now is take this yogurt that you can see it almost forms the shape of cheese there. And I'm going to add some flavoring to it. So I have already admitted to liking cheddar cheese. So I'm going to add some cheddar cheese in here, the rest of my cheddar cheese. You could add, again, some Parmesan here. If you don't want to add cheese, you don't have to. I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning as well. Tracie's going to give you the exact recipe. But if you're kind of like, oh, I don't know about garlic powder, Emily, I don't know about salt, just leave it out and you can add what you'd like. I'm going to add a little bit of the garlic powder because I really do like that flavor. Get the right amount here. Okay. To the cheese. And then I'm also going to add some fresh basil. So I'm going to just get my cutting board here and I'm going to chop up some fresh basil. Questions? Are we doing okay? Did I lose anybody? Are we
No, you're
following along
good.
okay?
You're
Okay,
good.
good.
And I'm just looking here. Oh, you're welcome. Some people, I did put the link to the spread. It's in the chat. And we have some of our past apron winners. Ingrid, she's like, I'm wearing my purple apron while I while I watch with you. So that is awesome. Someone has asked a question, and I think you somewhat answered it at the beginning, but is it important to keep the amount of baking powder when you make the bagels?
So if you want to reduce the amount of baking powder, you can. It just changes the texture a little bit. They're not as light and fluffy. So if you want to add a tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons, you could totally do that. Or two teaspoons. But again, I really like the lightness of these bagels, and that's why I went up to the 4 teaspoons. I did try it a few times with different amounts, and I just felt that the texture was really nice. Now, you could also offset a little bit by adding, 3 teaspoons of baking powder and half a teaspoon of baking soda. But I find that more people react to it's a soda burn on their tongue. Even though there's a little bit of soda in baking powder, it just the baking powder seems to be a little bit easier on the taste buds, if you will. Okay. I'm just gonna chop this up. Any other questions, Tracie?
Yes, so just two more. So
Yeah.
somebody asked if they can use, sugar-free version of yogurt. That's a taste thing. If that's what you want to use, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's going to take change the texture, Emily, or anything like that.
No. And
So,
actually, I'm just gonna pull this over here because I still have it out. Okay. So when you look at a container of plain
oh, here,
Greek
I'll let you go.
yogurt, um, if you look at the container, this has 5 grams of sugar per 3/4 of a cup. So the sugar is actually just coming from the milk. So it's naturally occurring. It's not any additional sugar to it. Whereas if you're using a fruit flavored yogurt, that's where you're going to see those sugar amounts kind of skyrocket because of that itself. You could also make your own yogurt. For many people that have instant pots, there's a yogurt setting and something that they love to do. So you can control again the fat, the amount of sugar based on the milk that you use because different brands have different amounts and those types of things. So you really are in the driver's seat with this, which I think is great. And I think that gives us a little bit of confidence and independence, if you will, for the recipe itself. So it's really kind of taking that simple something and making it even better and making it your own, which is really nice. I just added a sprinkle of salt in there. Okay. And then I'm just going to stir this together. I don't think I need to add anything else. I think I've gotten all the ingredients for this in the recipe. I didn't print that one off. I thought I could do it by memory. So I'm giving it a go. And you can put more cheese, less cheese, no cheese, as I said. You could make this into kind of a fresh berry version if you wanted to. I would mash up some strawberries, raspberries, or blackberries. You could use frozen and let them thaw, drain them, and then give them a mash and then stir them in with the yogurt. That makes a beautiful fruit spread, not just for this, but you could use it on anything. A nice dollop in the morning on your toast would be absolutely wonderful. Okay. And then there's our spread, as simple as that. So this will go into the refrigerator, and typically it will last as long as your yogurt. So do keep an eye on the best before of your yogurt, which, as hopefully we all know, it goes past that best before date. As soon as you start to see kind of any colored mold and things like that, it is a soft ingredient. So you do kind of want to, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do at your house. I know what some people do at their house. So, but if it is kind of, a week past its best before date and it still smells good and it's still make the bagels, make the spread. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. So I'm going to show you these bagels. Oh, and you know what? I did like what I always tell myself, don't do. I didn't put the timer on the oven. Like how many of you do that? It drives me up the wall. So I'm going to put a timer on just to make sure I don't forget that they're in there, even though I know it's not going to be the right time. All right. So here are my bagels. Very similar to what you saw me make. These are my cheese bagels. Okay. Oh, there's the cheese kind of sticking to them. So it's got all the cheese and that cheese skirt around. So a cheese skirt is all the cheese that kind of sits around whatever you're baking and gets all crispy and yummy. And then these are my everything bagel, spice bagels. Okay. And then these are those little bites. So you can see they puff up really nicely. There's a nice cheese skirt around there. That's going to have some nice crunchy bits. So these are great because of the size of them. You could dip them into the spread, or if you're having some hummus, you could dip it in your hummus. So these are great little snack size bites, which are, as I said, 5 of them would be the same as one bagel. There's my everything bagel. They got a little bit of cheese on them too, so they have a nice little bite to them. So as I said, if you're going to make these ahead and freeze them, get yourself a nice serrated knife and just cut them in half. Okay. And then there you are. See the inside? Just like a bagel, like that. So if you're going to freeze them, take the time to cut them. I might eat these little cheese crisps that are falling off, Tracie, because they're calling my name.
Emily makes the supreme sacrifice to do the taste test because we cannot. We can only see Emily doing this. There I am. Okay, so Emily, we have to do the taste test. I mean, this look, I just want to say this looks great. It's such a great way to use up ingredients at home. Enjoy, personalize how you want. We actually have a recipe very similar for pizza dough that we did. And I'm going to put that in the chat. And this was a couple of years ago, but we actually recorded the cooking demo. So if you want to watch how Emily actually did the pizza dough, it's on the OC replay page. So once you get on the website, recipes are all in the recipe section. This is being recorded, and it'll be on the OC replay page along with everything else. But I will pop the pizza recipe in. Um, and you don't have to do the topping if you don't like. We did a rapini, a white sauce, which we use the yogurt for with rapini. And so you can look, and it's like one of those, oh, you want pizza? Oh, just in minutes, you're going to have it. You don't need to have yeast. You don't need to let it rise, for 2 hours, etc. So,
It's essentially the same dough. I
yes,
think I put some Italian seasoning in it. I don't remember it exactly, but you can basically, if you want to stay on the simpler side of things and not add what we added to the pizza dough, you can kind of use this. And this is great for little making naan as well. So if you wanted to divide the dough up, same way, you could do 8. This one, I would that if I wanted to make naan, I would just roll it out a little bit first, and then you can pan fry those. And you
yes,
have some really nice. What I love about it is the texture's a little bit chewy, and I think that's why I love, bagels just in general, because they do have that little bit of chew. But you can see, like, look at this one with the cheese. I love this when you can see the little pockets of cheese like
yes,
in the bagel
yes.
itself. And that to me is like a big selling feature. Okay. So that the little, and it's hit or miss, right? This side, I didn't knead it so well, so I didn't get it in there. But then there's this like little center part with all the cheese in it. It's quite yummy.
And I just popped the pizza recipe in the chat. But again, once you're on the website, it's all there. Arlene just wrote to us and said, I'm really surprised how easy this looks, and it must be a lot less calories. Well, that all depends on how much cheese you add, but enjoy. It's all up to you. So, there's something also satisfying about kind of making your own and seeing. I'm always like amazed. You take a few ingredients, put them together, and like, wow, that
Hmm.
was so great. So
Definitely.
I'm just checking to make sure. Let me just see because I know we're gonna. Oh, here's a quick question. Actually, this is a really good question.
Yeah.
Can you freeze your Greek yogurt like just as
Mm.
is? What would happen to it if you just froze you had extra yogurt or you have 2 days left before expiry, best before. Can you pop it in the freezer?
You could definitely pop it in the freezer. Here's where you'll notice a difference. So if you have a lower fat, so 0, 2%-ish yogurt, when you pop it in the freezer and take it out, you'll notice a bigger separation because there's more water in it. Whereas if you have a higher fat Greek yogurt, and some of them I think go up now to like 10 or
Oh
11%,
yeah.
think of it as whipping cream and milk. If you freeze whipping cream at 35% and pull it out, you're still going to kind of get that kind of richness and thickness of it where milk will separate, has a little bit of water. So in this case, if you're making the bagels with that frozen yogurt, what you can do is pull it out, make sure you stir it all together again because that water may separate a little bit. Stir it all in and then make the bagels. Sometimes there is a little bit of a textural difference where it almost tastes a little bit gritty, but guess what? You're not eating it raw. You're baking with it. So you're not even going to be able to tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a good question. And I'm glad that we shared that. Some people aren't sure if it's going to split or et cetera, but what a great way to save your yogurt and use it for later, especially if it's on sale. It's a good deal. So, Emily, did you, yum, it's all good.
I'm
It
almost
looks
done this
good.
half. I will eat the remaining part of
I
this
know.
half.
I feel like I just need to drive the hour to come see you and like have some bagel bites and some spread with you. So before we go, let's just see. So of our the winner for our Unbreakable Apron, congratulations to Anne McCallan from Medicine Hat, Alberta. Thank you, Anne. We're
Congrats.
going to reach out and we're going to ship you that apron. Um, we have new recipes coming, so stay tuned. Check the website often. I am going to just share because I want to make sure you know what we have coming up. So, Emily, you keep enjoying that.
I will.
Let's-
No problem there.
So, speaking of Emily, we have a new podcast that just got released and it's with Emily. And she is speaking with Krista Lamb about stretching your food dollar. Again, it's on your favorite podcast provider or it's on our website. You just click play and you can listen to it. So she's going to give you some great tips and strategies for stretching your food dollar. Just like today's webinar, we have other webinars that we've recorded. Just visit the OC Replay webpage. You see the link for the nutrient calculator. And we encourage you to download that and help you. And, when you're grocery shopping, pull out your phone to check if you're curious about the nutrient breakdown. We have a webinar coming up in April with Carla Purcell, who is a registered nurse. She's an FLS nurse in Dartmouth at the General Hospital, and she's an FLS clinical nurse educator for Nova Scotia Health. And she is going to discuss how to manage and administer medications effectively for osteoporosis. That is on the website. So go under events. You can register now, and we hope to see you then. There we go. And of course, if you subscribe to our e-newsletter, you will get all of this information directly to your inbox. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly enjoyed yet another Cook with OC program. We do send out a survey. Please share your thoughts with us. We do read them all. And be well, happy baking, enjoy those bagel and bagel bites, and spread Emily. Until next time, see you all later. Thank you, Roy. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.